Hello, weebs, non-weebs, lady weebs, and log worshippers. This is Third Fang, with the next episode of Beta with a Third. I've seen your reviews and your comments, and hopefully I will address as many as I can. I'm going to do a challenge run with Dante's because that's what everybody else is doing, and it's cheap. And let me just get the right setup. So there's Merlin. I did this once before just to see if I could, and it worked. So, yep, there is my challenge quest. Just those three, and it works. All right, so let's get this started. So, a quick note before I start. I've had a lot of plot questions over the video, and unfortunately, I don't want to. I'm sorry if I don't answer those, but I don't want to spoil, my stories at all. So, if you guys can please stop asking those questions in particular, uh, that would be great. Still leave reviews and stuff though, because I'm a shameless person thing. Yes, I am very articulate. I blame the cold because it was very cold this past week in Michigan. And I went to work every single goddamn day. And somehow my car worked. Somehow. All right. So, first question. First question. That does not have to do with plot. Will I ever write that Harry Potter fanfiction where Ghost kidnaps slash adopts Harry off of the Dursley's doorstep? Okay, for those of you that don't know, I made an omake in one of my yet again or Take Two Round Two stories, and it was pretty much just a very brief excerpt where it shows Dumbledore, dropping off Harry right after, the event with Voldemort, Alf at the Dursleys, in the middle of the night, yada yada yada. He turns and walks away, and then all of a sudden he hears Ghost in the background go, "Hey, cool, a free baby," and that just started off a whole slew of requests for people for me to make that happen because in all honesty, yes, it does sound like a great story, and if I ever did write it, I would call it "Hey Cool, a Free Baby," because honestly, when it comes to titles, don't be you can't be like mysterious or amazing or try and wow people these days. You have to catch people's attention in some way that's different than before. And so for example, I made a high school DxD fic that's called "Go Away, I'm Watching Porn." Yes, that's the title, and it works. And I'm already like in the top five, easily the top 10 high school DxD fix, like on fanfiction.net. So, and I haven't really gotten that far in that story, to be honest. I have like maybe half a chapter sitting somewhere in my computer right now that I have yet to work on. But yeah, that happened. But no, I'm not making a new story anytime soon because honestly, I don't have the time for it. I'm already procrastinating enough as it is these days, and uh, I gotta finish the stories that I have first. I'm sorry, guys. Uh, okay, so, but the next story I make, if I did start one, would definitely be that one. Uh, so let's see. Sorry if this is a weird question, but what is it like to be the author of a story that is longer than all of the Harry Potter books combined? One of the longest pieces of literature in English of all time, and that's just counting your first story. Does that stress creep up or creep you out at all? Honestly, I'd rather not think about it or acknowledge that it's actually true to begin with. Um, And every time I think about it, I think I die a little bit on the inside. I wrote so much. I wrote more than fucking J.K. Rowling, but I haven't earned a single penny out of that shit. All right. But in terms of like, am I proud of it or any? I'm more proud of the fact that people like my work. I'm more proud of the fact that, I've kept up with it because normally I give up on things if they don't interest me. I'm proud that it's just, so well received, you know, given give or take because a lot of my work sometimes, puts people off big time. So, yeah. Let's see. Give me a sec. I think I will do this. And hopefully I didn't screw that up. But yeah, it doesn't really come with any real benefits, unfortunately. I go to conventions, nobody knows who the fuck I am. To my knowledge, there aren't a lot of people that live around me or in the area that actually read fan fiction or know what I'm doing. Let's see. I have made a couple of friends over the years. I met a couple of guys in Florida that were fans of my work. Uh, I've met a lot of people. I have met people. And I have done and learned a lot of things over the years. Thanks to my fan fiction, I'm a better writer because of it in general, for reports and everything. It's something to do. It makes me happy. It's a good way to kill time. And, fan fiction's free. So that's a productive hobby in a way. But otherwise, no, there's no real benefits to it. If I do make a story though, like an original story and sell it, I've had a lot of people say that they'll buy it, which is, real nice. But otherwise, no, uh, it's nothing real significant about it. This is just really a hobby that I enjoy doing. All right. And Natsuverse fanboy speaking. What's the Fate meme I made? Okay. The Fate meme I made was I made a in for those of you that don't know, I wrote a Fate Stay Night fan fiction called From Fake Dreams. It's also really highly liked in terms of Fate Stay Night fan fiction, but it's also incredibly despised by Natsuverse fanboys because I take liberties with the lore, and they really don't like that. But the meme I made was basically I made up a technical term called incarnation, and basically Shiro Emiya, you should know who he is by now. He has matching origin and element. So basically, a mage can have normally has only one of five elements: earth, fire. Let's see, it was earth, fire, wind, water, and then ether. And Rin has all five of those. But every person on the planet also has an origin, and which is unique to them. So basically, what I did was, I thought to myself, hey, if origins can be literally anything and elements are normally only one of the five elements, what would happen if they match? Was there a term for that? And I just pulled out incarnation out of my ass because I thought that it would work and it sounded technical and Natsuverse-ish. And I just said, okay, if those two will match, the person's called an incarnation, which means they're like a living human representation of that one thing. And lo and behold, A, it caught on, and B, it pissed off a lot of people who in the Nasuverse fanboys because, it got popular and it's like, no, it's not canon, and yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot. So, let's see, pump up Mama Raiko. So yeah, so that's the meme I was talking about last time. So let's see. Hey, Third Fang, want to say a couple of things. Been a massive fan of yours for years. Thank you very much, Rody Thornburg. All right. I was curious what inspired you to give Shadow her curse, Waltz his phobia, Crypt his specific brand of insanity, and Ghost his depression, and Scab is, well, yeah, there's a lot wrong with Scab. Um, so what inspired me to be cruel to my OCs? Just for reference, Shadow has. I won't go into specifics, but Shadow has trouble relating to people. Waltz is Waltz is a defender of kids, as in if you try and threaten kids around him, he'll turn you into a meaty paste on the ground in horrible, painful, slow, drawn out fashion. Crypt is, well, I've already said it before. Crypt is fucking insane. Ghost is suicidal, and Scab, who is like the perpetual deadpan everything uh, in the family. He's like a mad. He's completely monotone. He speaks in complete monotone. He hates. He's obsessed with money, and he hates fangirls with such a passion that he might as well be a religious zealot. Like it's like flipping a switch. He's like completely calm in control and like speaks in sarcasm, and then whenever he thinks that a fangirl's around, he starts panicking, and he starts like assuming that the Illuminati in fangirl form is about to get him, which is absolutely hilarious because why not? But as to what inspired me to be, in his words, to treat my characters' minds like cheap fleshlights to go to town on. That's a great analogy. I'm gonna use that. It's basically the reason why I did that is simply because, in my mind, if you're immortal, if you got super powers, if you're living for doing whatever the hell you want for long periods of a time, you're gonna be fucked up. It's if you're going to be exploring and doing shit in every nook and cranny of the multiverse, where Rick and Morty shenanigans happens, and there are Rick and Morty shenanigans, you're gonna end up fucked up at some point. It's not even a debate. It's not even a question. Anybody who says otherwise, get the hell out. You're not being realistic. So, basically, I kind of, and the funny thing is, I wrote all this shit before Rick and Morty came out, so I was like, the Ugakari are pretty much Rick and Morty before Rick and Morty. That's not really me bragging, that's more or less the truth at this point. But, basically, if that again, a Rick and Morty analogy, that's pretty much the best way to put it is you go out and you do enough of this shit for long enough, your standards are going to be screwed up, your experiences are going to be screwed up, and eventually it's just going, and eventually you're just going to wind up being weird characters. You're going to wind up like with weird habits, with weird dispositions, and there's nothing you can really do or say about it in that kind of situation. You're a product of your environment, and with enough diversity, with enough wide diversity, shit's gonna happen. You're gonna have some weird conditions, and there's no real point in arguing against it. So So in that case, like I talked about my when I was developing powers beforehand, instead of trying to tame it or start from the bottom up, I started from the top down. I went full blown insane, full blown, I tried to be cruel and hilarious at the same time and just go flat out overboard. You go flat out overboard, but do it in a way that. Excuse me for a moment. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, sure, Mama Reiko, and then double Merlin. Yeah, you just you they're good guys. They're decent guys, but the Ugakari are decent guys, but they've just been fucked over so much that they're no longer that decent, but they are decent. You just gotta have look behind the subtext of what they're doing. But even so, they're doing whatever the fuck they want, and so it leads to interesting interactions, which I really like about them. Because they aren't restricted or care about social norms or even are even hit that hard by going against social norms. There's a lot of diversity and there's a lot of there's a lot of freedom that you can take with characters like that. You just got to be careful and not make them, you can't make them too much, otherwise they just take control of the story. Because, oh wait, it's that asshole. Let's see. One sec. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, so basically, it's less me being a complete asshole, or it is me being a complete asshole, but it's me being a realistic asshole in an unrealistic setting. So I took some liberties, and that's how they ended up. So let's see. Do I have any plans to make Shiro centered fanfics? No, I don't. I might make like a side series at some point where it's just Shiro like going through Fate Grand Order, just fucking around with everybody and his interactions with everybody. Because I've made some omakes like that, and everybody seems to like that. But an actual story, no, no, I'm not going to go that far. It's not worth it. Not after how much time I've already spent making my stories in general. I can't believe I've written so much already as it is. So let's see. Um, have I read Nintech? I probably started it at some point, but I've read so many fan fictions by this point that I've probably forgotten it. Unfortunately, sorry, but no, I don't remember it off the top of my head. And what's my opinion on a crossover between Natsuverse and My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? I am not really that knowledgeable on My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, but I will tell you that Pinkie Pie will probably cause someone an aneurysm. No, 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 no. Change that over. Pinkie Pie plus Zelrich will cause epileptic seizures in pretty much everybody by accident because those two should never be allowed to meet in person. Let's see. Well, those are the questions, so I'm going to go off tangent and talk about something that I think should be important for anybody that's aspiring to write fan fiction. And that is keeping note of the world that's being written, or how do I put this? What makes a good story to write a fan fiction? And for this, I am actually going to talk about one of the biggest fan fiction, the biggest stories out there in anime and manga, with a huge count of fan fictions written for it. But if you look carefully at the numbers, there aren't that many heavy hitting fan fictions for this series, and I am talking about One Piece. Oh yes, One Piece. There are not many high level or outstanding fan fictions for One Piece. And I know the reason. There are two primary reasons why this is the case. Oh, and before anybody asks, there are a couple of good One Piece fan fictions. Top of the list is This Bites by Zomniac. They are the only story that I have ever come across that also includes OCs that are complete assholes like the Yogakari. No, they're same. It takes a scarily similar tone to Yet Again as my story to One Piece as Yet Again does, and they do it perfectly, and they develop the characters perfectly, and it's just so incredibly well done. I highly recommend it. But back to my main topic is that One Piece is an impossibly difficult series to write a fan fiction for, a good long lasting fan fiction for. And the reason for this is there are two main reasons. The first reason is geography. One Piece is an utter bitch to be flexible with because of everything's in water. That's it. Every major location is an island, and in order to get between island to get from one place to another, you need ships, and the Grand Line is its own like Hail Mary of a trip in itself. So, if you want to do One Piece, you have to stick to the ship. You got to keep the geography the same. You got to sorry. You got to follow a whole bunch of rules in order to make One Piece a reasonably, a decent One Piece fic in order to make it all in place. And that's really, really, really hard to do. So, I mean, you can't be flexible with where characters are because then you cut out, said characters or meeting one another. You have to, and if you start the story like in the middle of the Grand Line, like or with someone with absurd powers, guess what? You're always going to be starting at the same place, and not a lot of characters are going to be shifting from place to place because there's a fuck ton of water, and the weather in the Grand Line and in the One Piece world is absolutely nuts. So that is the first, and that puts a huge hamper on the flexibility and creativity of a lot of potential fanfics. Is that they gotta write within those limitations, and it really restricts the flexibility when you do that. So that's the first reason, geography. The second reason why One Piece is an utter pain in the ass to write a really good, long lasting fan fiction for is that Oda, God bless that man. He is an amazing writer. But that man has still hidden so many goddamn facts about how that world works from the readers that it just is just an absolute nightmare trying to deal with. Let's see. Not that, yeah. So you still don't know the specifics on how the world government works. You still don't know the specifics on the devil fruit. You still don't. I mean, we're getting close to the end right now, but you still don't know the specifics of some of the characters' backgrounds. You still Vegapunk is still a big thing. There's just so many mysteries about how that world works and the history of that world that any decently length fan fiction would get hit hard by the retcon hammer at one point or another. It's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and it's so so, so annoying at times. Although, speaking of, rumors and all that stuff, I have a rumor. I've actually talked to Zomniac, the one of the guys who writes This Bites, and I have a suspicion that, because that's the best way I can put it, that Nami is actually a celestial dragon. And the reason why I think that is, if you look at her backstory, she was, you know, Belmare, the woman that adopted her. Let's see. The woman that adopted her quit out of the army because she had too much on an island that pretty much had everybody killed, and she was tired of the Marines, and she found two girls that were pretty much the only survivors of those pirates. And I'm thinking to myself, A, that's a fucking buster call. Belmare's pissed off at it. Um, pirates are pissed off a celestial dragon. Buster Call was called, killed everyone on the island, killed all the pirates, except those two little girls who were victims of, or who were the only survivors of the celestial dragons. And Belmare didn't know that they were kids of the celestial dragons, and shit got real. And she adopted them unknowingly. And honestly, it works way too well when you think about it to simply write it off. I mean, it probably is not the case. Oda's probably thought of something else, but considering the fact that like Nami has been in the position of, like, heroine in distress in so many goddamn One Piece movies, that honestly, I think that might be the case. Let's see. I'm going to go overboard on Mamariko. Let's see. But yeah, that's just my suspicion on One Piece. If it happens, I'm just gonna like brag about it to everybody and be a complete asshole about that. But no, that's my suspicion on Nami. That's why I think One Piece is incredibly a pain in the ass to write a decent fan fiction for. It's just hard to move characters around or get things in a different place, and move characters. Yeah, I already said move characters, and just adapt the story properly to make a lot of reliable fan fictions. It's still a great story, and you can still make a great amount of fan fictions for it, but it's a lot harder for One Piece than it is for other stories. That being said, I do have a potential challenge for anybody that is willing to take up on it. And this is a One Piece challenge. And basically, the premise is, because personally, I love Hancock's character, and she needs to show up more. So basically, what I was thinking of is, if I ever wrote a fan fiction for One Piece, this is how it would happen. And this isn't my Ugakari family, multi-dimensional characters. They won't be involved in this one. But basically, this One Piece fan fiction plot would have Hancock meeting Luffy way earlier in the story. And that's as far as I've gotten. I have no idea how it would turn out there, but it would probably be hilarious because it's fucking One Piece. And Hancock is best girl. So basically, let's see. Oh, this is terrible. Basically, the way the plot would work out is. And I probably did that wrong. Oh well. The way it would work is, once they get to Alabasta, Princess Vivi's homeland, basically what would end up happening is, for one reason or another, Crocodile would be showing issues or be suspicious to the world government. So what would end up happening is, shit, I fucked up. I fucked up. I fucked up. Okay, so basically, what would end up happening is I get my ass kicked by John of Arc. Um, what end up happening is the Buddha guy would tell Hancock to go to Crocodile's place to either keep an eye on him or see what would happen, or say, "Oh, look, Fire Fist Ace is going to visit is in the same area as Crocodile. Go over there and either capture him or make sure he doesn't fuck up." So she goes there earlier with her crew, and then shenanigans happens, and she meets up with Luffy, and would that would she would end up meeting with Luffy, and I don't know, maybe Crocodile would try and kill Hancock because she's in his way, or kill one of her sisters because they're in the way, or something along those lines. And basically, things would go from there, and Hancock would, obviously she wouldn't, since he hasn't punched a celestial dragon in this situation. She wouldn't fall in love with him, obviously, right off the bat, but she would probably be interested in him, and it would be a good way to have him like show Conqueror's hockey, and have her be interested in him for one reason or another right off the bat, and just have things spin out of control from there. Because honestly, I think having Hancock like secretly helping him all the way from the archipelago, from that point in time onwards, would actually lead to some pretty great twists in the story. But yeah, that's where I want to go from there. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are. And that's about it. I'm just going to play a couple more, like one or two more rounds of this before I get my ass kicked, because I lost my damage dealer because I'm an idiot. And yeah, that's about it. So that's beta with a third, episode 3. More of me rambling and screwing up in FGO because I am a terrible Type Moon fan. I'm sorry, Mama Raiko. Please, please have your boobies forgive me. I am not worthy. Let's see. I'll withdraw because I don't feel like getting my ass kicked. And yeah, that's about it. So please, if you have any questions about writing fan fiction, or like the process, or anything along those lines, please ask, because that's what this series is really about: betaing or beta testing or whatever. It's called beta with a third. So anyway, that's about it. Sorry I rambled for so long. Talk to you guys later.